All right, everyone. I am so excited to share our guest speaker for the Intuitivarian process. You all just rocked it. For 22 days, we were experimenting with our body, and you'll never believe who we have here today. We have Pilar Gerasimo. Her and I met at Rancho La Puerta. I was going to ask you, I think it was your first time there. It was a while ago. It might have been like 6 years at least ago or so, maybe longer.
Yeah, quite possibly.
And I got to see her do her keynote speech, and I was amazing. She had everybody on her feet, or at least I'm going to pretend I started the standing ovation because it was so good. She was like ahead of the times, kind of shaking people up out of what they think was like being sick is not normal. That's what was my biggest takeaway. And she shook everyone out of that phase of oh, that's not normal. I can actually be healthy. So we have Pilar here today, founding editor of Experience Life magazine, co-host of the Living Experiment podcast, which is phenomenal, everyone, which I'll put that link on there, along with Dallas Hartwig. She created the 101 Revolutionary Ways to Be Healthy, the author of Manifesto for Thriving in a Mixed Up World, and now her new book, which I've already published, and I'm surprised I didn't put out the Amazon link, but she's working on it. I was like, she's done. We're ready to read it already. Called I know, right? The Healthy Deviant, and she's going to share more about that with us today. So thank you so much for being here. And I just threw out my dream, and my dream was I would love more innovative guests to share with my clients what their musings and their gifts are. And I was like, well, you never know. She can say no, but I'll see if she says yes. So thank you for making little dreams come true, Pilar, and being here.
Oh, thank you so much. It's my pleasure, Heather. And I'm delighted if I can make any of your dreams come true. I was really happy to be invited to speak. And I do remember meeting you at Rancho La Puerta, which is a wonderful spot that people convene to learn and discover more about themselves and how their body, mind works, and just experience a healthy environment, which, as you say, the idea of what is normal and abnormal in our society is sort of a pet topic of mine. But I think that's one of the best things about going away on a retreat or even participating in the kind of event you're hosting is that it pulls us out of our normal experience enough to just consider what we actually want or choose. And the ranch, visits are like $5,000 a week or something crazy. But I think it's great to make these experiences more accessible. So that's part of my dream too. So thank you for giving me a chance. Living the dream. Yeah.
Right? We are. So I have some fun questions, but again, I want to flow. And then at the 15-minute mark, our participants are going to dive back in too. So my favorite thing when I was emailing you was your tagline, break the rules or break yourself. Can you tell us more about that, please? And I think it's something with the new book. So.
Yeah, it is. So the phrase break the rules or break yourself is really designed to reflect the choice that all of us are facing every day in our society without really realizing it. And it came out of an experience that I had, if you don't mind my telling a little story. When I was in my mid-30s, I realized that my life had become relatively unmanageable. And I'd been doing a lot of things to try to become healthier and happier. And I'd read a lot of health and fitness magazines. I'd read so many of them that I'd gotten disgusted with them, had thrown most of them out, and had started my own magazine, Experience Life, in a partnership with Lifetime Fitness, now Lifetime, the Healthy Way of Life company. Yeah. And that magazine was an incredible it represented a lot of progress in the field of health and fitness magazines. It was much more progressive and holistic. But one of the things that I was discovering as I was doing the research that was going into the magazine was that stress management really was a huge part of health in ways I had not previously understood. And even though I figured out my diet and exercise elements, I really hadn't gotten a very good handle on my stress yet. And that was showing up in my body in a lot of ways. I was getting rashes on my face and my body. I was getting backaches and neck aches and stomach aches and all kinds of strange carpal tunnel and hormonal disruptions and acne, things that just were not things I wanted to live with. But every time I would try to address them individually, I'd end up with another cream or another acupuncture appointment. And one by one, attacking the symptoms wasn't working very well. So I had decided that, having read a lot, it would be a good idea for me to get out in the morning every day, while the sun was coming up, before my day had gone completely crazy and I'd lost all control of my schedule, take a little bit of time for myself. And I'd committed to doing this, getting up, going outside, doing a walk or a run around the block just to clear my head before my day started, which was a really great thing to do. And I'd managed it 2, 3, 4 days in a row. And then one of these days I woke up, I was about to head out, and I had my running shoes in hand, and I heard my little email alarm go off as I was going out the door. And I stopped and I thought, oh, I should check my email because that's probably this article I'm waiting to edit. So this really this moment of choice. And even though my gut was telling me to just go on the run, I listened to my head and I put my shoes down and I went to my computer and I checked my email. There was the file. I opened it up, another big mistake. And the minute I looked at it, I realized that it was not ready for prime time. It was going to require a ton of work. And probably all of you have had this experience where there's some part of you that knows this is not the right time and place for you to do this thing. There's other part of you that's, I just have to start now. I won't have time otherwise. So I threw myself into this work and I realized I couldn't concentrate because I had so much pent up frustration in my body. I'd promised myself I would take care of myself in this way. I'd broken that promise, but I couldn't focus. So I was like, I have to blow off steam. Famous last words. Yeah. So I went running up and down the stairs of my apartment, which was like a little old carriage house. And after about 15 flights, I didn't feel any better. I was just still frustrated. And now I'd wasted a few more minutes and I was sweating and hot. And I just, in a fit of self-directed rage, I was like, it's not working. And I stomped my foot on the wooden floor. Remember, I was barefoot. So hard that I broke my foot. Broke the bone in two.
Whoa.
And that sound, if any of you have ever broken a bone, you probably know it's like a simultaneous sound and experience in your body that is so sickening. They call it a sickening crunch for a reason. And I just fell on the floor crying and screaming and swearing. And after this hissy fit moment passed, I realized I have to get to the hospital, so I commando crawled over to my phone, called my dad. I was like, please take me to the emergency room. Yeah. And while I was waiting for him to come, I had some time to think and I got very quiet. And in those moments, these 3 rapid fire insights came to me that really changed my life. And the first of them was the insight, oh my God, I just broke myself. Literally broke my body. And that was an incredible thing, that I had directed enough hostility and violence against my own body in that moment that I had succeeded in breaking my own bone was terrifying to me. But the second thought that came to me was, you know what? This is actually nothing new. I have been breaking my body for years, right? Probably really since my adolescence, when I started being disordered in my eating and thinking that I should be thinner and better than I was in 1,000 ways, and holding myself up against the standards of an impossible to achieve societal standard. I was breaking myself in 1,000 ways. I was overworking, undersleeping, eating weirdly, not moving enough, or moving in ways that were too much for my body at the time. And all of the signals that my body had been sending me, the rashes, the carpal tunnel, the neck aches, the back aches, all of those things were saying, you are breaking me. And I was just ignoring them, treating the symptoms, not addressing the root causes, which was a life out of balance. So then the third insight was, as much as I wanted to feel sorry for myself, and it was sort of an unusual thing to break the bone, the truth was, I am not alone in this self-breakage. And in truth, everyone around me was also breaking themselves in similar ways and had the same symptoms to show for it, the same signals of distress in their bodies: overweight, underweight, rashes, neck aches, back aches. And in that moment, I think, Heather, something changed for me where I realized this is not just a me problem. This is an us problem. This is a social, political, cultural problem. And yet we keep driving home to people that they just need to follow the diet or do the workout or get the special bit of something, gear, clothing, diet aid, and then everything's going to be okay. But if the truth, when I look at it, I often ask people this question, are you breaking yourself? Almost everyone starts to nod and realizes, yes, my body has been sending me these signals, or my mind has been sending me these signals, or my relationship or my bank account or whatever it is has been sending me these signals, because we live in a culture that forces that decision on people. You either follow the rules and end up breaking yourself down.
Yeah.
Or you become willing to break the rules in the service of salvaging your body, your mind, your life, and a lot of the subsequent choices that you can make with a fully vibrant self. Most of us don't ever get to experience that self because we're frankly too busy following the rules.
I love it. I heard like little betrayals, like these little self-betrayals, then just build up, and then your foot was the signal of that. I was just, David sent me over your podcast Impulse, number 69, your podcast you recently did.
Yeah.
And I felt like the main ingredient in that podcast was compassion, which I live for to teach with nutrition, is this permission and more compassion for ourselves. And that's such an important aspect too. And in that impulse too, like I loved the podcast, what you made me think, like, sit at the table and don't by yourself and don't look at your cell phone. Like, because you're going to be the only one not doing that. Like everybody else. And I practice that all the time. I love it because you can hear the birds actually chirp. You can actually feel the sunshine on your skin. But you're the weird one not being on your phone. So like that just totally shares what you were saying about you have to kind of cut loose from the rat race to be in your own body, too.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is so true. Just simply the act of being present and conscious in our society is a deviant act.
Yeah.
If you really look around, you will see just how rare it is. I mean, rarer than 1 in 100 probably is the person who is in the present moment, looking aware and looking around at what's going on and listening and paying attention fully. Like it is just not done in our society anymore. It's considered to be a kind of weird outlier thing to do. If you are doing it, you look suspicious. You start to look like you're missing the joint or you're just surveilling, because no one is paying attention, much less paying attention to what's going on inside of them. Well, and we'll get to all of that when we talk about the forthcoming book, because it's a big part of it. Great observation.
That makes them uncomfortable. Like too, everyone's like, wait, why are you so relaxed? Because we're all supposed to be busy. Like even people, like I even been practicing not to say, oh, hey, I'm really busy. I'm like, I don't want to say that anymore. Why does that even really?
We have a whole episode on that.
Oh, you do? Oh, good.
Yeah.
Ooh, exactly. Is it the Impulse one or another? Which one? Another
No,
one?
it's called Busy. Yeah, busy. Each of the shows
perfect
has a one-word title. So yeah, typically whether it's morning or busy or something else.
Yeah.
Judgment, I think, is the current one. You'd like that one too, because it's more about.
I can't wait. Yeah. What have you discovered then in your own personal wellness that helps you stay connected and balanced after your foot threw you off balance? What have you noticed? Literally threw you off balance.
One of the biggest insights I think that came out of that for me was just that I had to steward my body and mind more responsibly. That I had allowed myself to become victimized by what I thought were what I felt to be external pressures to achieve, to perform, to conform. And in some ways, starting the magazine was one of the hardest things I'd ever done. And I was extremely passionate about it. But I was also trying to achieve an extraordinary goal, truly something that in some ways had not been done before. I mean, the number of women who have started and run sustainable, successful magazines in this country are they're probably going to count them on one hand. And I didn't know that at the time. So I was sort of telling myself I should be able to do this and maintain all of these other structures in my life and look perfect to everyone else. And holding myself to that standard was making me sick, not just in terms of breaking my body, my physical body